My name is Gordon McCulloch, I'm Head of Research in NICVA, and today we held a consultation event looking at skills needs and skills gaps in the voluntary and community sector. We had a wide range of participants from voluntary and community organisations, training organisations and people from sector skills councils. The purpose of the event today was to try and put some flesh to the data we've gathered through a large-scale research project into skills needs in the voluntary and community sector. We asked organisations a series of questions about what were the recruitment issues they faced, how they addressed skills gaps and skills shortages within their organisations, and perhaps more importantly, what solutions can be put in place for future skills development, primarily around a skills strategy for the voluntary community sector and how sector skills organisations themselves can engage more with the sector. We call the event today the Great Skills Debate, and I suppose it was a bit tongue-in-cheek insofar as that the discussions about skills haven't really changed in the voluntary and community sector over the last number of years. It's still the same issues coming through about the skills needs that organisations want, but also the issues around training and accessing training. But the research that we conducted with 500 organisations showed an awful lot more detail about the issues that managers and those in leadership roles are facing, but equally those who are on the front line working with service users, and the impact of new legislation is actually going to have on organisations and what their skills needs in the future are going to be. We hope to publish this research in January next year with a view to lobbying DEL for more mainstream funding and support of the voluntary community sector in terms of skills development, but also to inform the skills strategy that was talked about in Positive Steps. We also asked some of the participants today to give their views, and you'll get a flavour of what they thought about the research, what they feel about skills development in the sector, and their ideas about possible solutions.
Alwyn Liner, I'm the Chief Executive of NICVA.
Alwyn, what do you think are the issues your organisation faces when attempting to access or deliver training for staff?
Well, undoubtedly all organisations feel themselves bound by the money they have dedicated to their staff training and resource plans. But I think it's very important that we have a very open view of what training involves. So as well as the money we'd put aside for specific courses that we would buy in for individuals, members of staff, we need to think about mentoring within the organisation and indeed from across the sector, and also how we can better link with organisations we need to work well with. And for us that would be organisations in the advice sector, in the drug and alcohol field and in the homelessness sector.
In which areas, jobs, do you feel there are significant gaps in skills amongst paid staff in your organisation?
Well, I think that if we look at what the training needs that are emerging are, there are key issues in terms of dealing with the front-end service delivery. So there are issues like handling aggression, dealing with difficult behaviour, and how staff at the very front line, which are very often administrative staff, deal with those individuals when they present. But moving on from that, there are a range of difficulties in terms of ensuring that staff are sufficiently IT competent, and that we have and can recruit and retain staff in what I consider to be support services like finance, HR and data processing, where people aren't necessarily motivated by the work that is the motivation for many other in the frontline delivery services, and where the support services need to be properly rewarded so that we hold and retain staff with quality skills.
Okay, my name is Diane Greer and I work for the Workers' Educational Association.
Diane, what are the challenges your organisation faces when attempting to recruit new staff?
Well, I think like many other organisations in the community and voluntary sector at the moment, sometimes we get lots of requests for application forms and we don't get very many returned. I think there's some of the cream of workers have been taken off the top, I think, in the last lot of years. I also think that the community and voluntary sector is a tough sector to work in. Often workers who come in to do one thing are doing a half a dozen other things. So sometimes the people who may have had great optimism years ago, workers are kind of losing the motivation to work in the sector, and they know that it's tough work. So I think, that's certainly one thing, and I think also that some of the skills that we need in the sector are very wide and diverse, and sometimes it's hard to get somebody with the range of skills that we might need. I also think that a lot of people who have the experience of the voluntary and community sector may not have the qualifications for the paid jobs. They're in volunteer positions and have been in volunteer positions and maybe have never gone back to get the paper that in some ways the employers are demanding. So I think that's certainly an issue.
Dan, what are the issues your organisation faces when attempting to access or deliver training for your staff?
Well, again, I'm sure it's not that different to what everybody else is facing. It's one thing for employers to identify the training gaps and needs of their staff, and for the staff to identify them as well. It's another thing funding that, and often organisations are so tightly squeezed nowadays in the sector that the amount or the budget allocation to training can often get squeezed. And in many of the, for example, in our organisation, if a development officer is out for a day, that's not so bad. If an administrator's out for a day, it's not so bad. It might depend on the time of the year, the rhythm of the work. Sometimes of a year are busier than others. But there are other, for some serious professional development, our organisation couldn't afford to cover a worker out on training. So there's the issue of the time it takes, the cover required. They're all kind of resource issues.
Okay. I'm Maria Burns. I work for the NOW project. I'm the Learning and Development Manager. The NOW project works along with adults with learning disabilities, and we prepare people for work.
Maria, if there are skills gaps, what type of things do you do to try and alleviate the gaps?
At the moment, the NOW project is undergoing a complete review of our policies and procedures. We're taking that from the ground up, in that we're looking at a training needs analysis of all staff who currently are working for the NOW project, and looking to identify areas for each person and develop personal development plans that will address the skills that we need for the organisation to succeed in the future. We are planning what will happen with the NOW project over the next 5 years, and that has given us goals that we need to achieve for the staff. They need to look at the skills they have and then identify areas where they feel that they need to improve to meet the goals that we have set as an organisation. Organisationally then, we need to look to match the ideas that the staff have and the ideas that the organisation have, and that they will meet and then succeed in the future.
Even if you weren't at the event today, you still have the opportunity to answer and give us your feedback on what you think are the big issues around skills development and training needs in the sector. So you can fill in an online survey which will help feed into the research and ultimately, hopefully, help shape skills development in a more coherent way for the voluntary community sector.